Adam Rubin of ESPN New York with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. Your home for New York sports. Levack is out today, so it's me and Adam riding it, baby. And Adam, talking about this Subway Series, both the Yankees and Mets riding high going into it. Was the feeling on this Subway Series, did it feel differently with both teams as competitive as they were this time, maybe different than the past?
Well, I know the series was played in April this time, where typically it's played closer to the summer, but this was the first time since interleague play began in 1997 that both teams were in first place when the teams met in the Subway Series, and clearly there was a lot more electricity in the ballpark, basically because I think the Mets fans infiltrated there also and were optimistic, so both sides really had something to be excited about. So there clearly was a lot of juice. I know ESPN just came out with the ratings, and it was up significantly over the game they had last year on the same date. So definitely a lot of juice, even though the games this week in Miami and Washington are probably more important for the Mets. That series definitely had a lot of juice to it.
As someone that's on the Mets side of things, I've heard this, including from ESPN's John Buccigross, who's going to join me today at 5:15. He texted me earlier, and he said that he feels like the Yankees still, he used the word awkward. They're awkward. They don't have a face. Not really sure what you're cheering for with the off-the-field A-Rod drama going on. Was there a different feeling? I know, obviously covering the Mets, but did you feel like the Yankees just have a different vibe to them than they've had in the past with Jeter?
Oh, no, most definitely. I mean, CC Sabathia is now, 0-4? You mentioned A-Rod. I don't know if it's a feel-good story that he's now within one of tying Willie Mays for fourth all-time on the home run list. Teixeira has a lot of home runs, but everyone says he's in decline. I don't get to see him on a daily basis. So it's kind of a transition period where the Yankees are above water now, but when the teams beat again in September, I'm not so sure it's going to be the same place for the Yankees.
Adam Rubin of ESPN New York with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. Adam, the Mets last night had an uncharacteristic 4 errors in the loss. It really affected them on the way to that loss. Much cause for concern there, or just chalk it up as this was a tough game?
Just a sloppy game. I mean, Daniel Murphy, that's typical Daniel Murphy in the field, and you just hope his bat offsets it. But to have the 4 errors, Wilmer Flores just airmailing a ball to first base. And then the base running, too. They've been very, very good at base running. But Eric Campbell lost track of the outs, got doubled off first base on a fly ball to right field. That's not the way the Mets were winning the first few weeks of the season. So I'm sure it was just an aberration for one game, because fundamentally they've been pretty good aside from the limitations of the middle infielders.
Obviously, the Mets dropping 2 of 3 to the Yankees this weekend. What was your biggest takeaway from the Mets now that the Subway Series is over, Part 1?
I'm not sure you could detract from what the Mets have accomplished so far this season just because of the weekend. Anything could happen in a 3-game series, and as I said, they were sloppy in the rubber game. The real determination of what direction the Mets season is going to go and whether they're legitimately going to be a contender really is this week. Miami got swept in 4 games in Citi Field a week ago, but here we are now in Miami, and they're going to be looking for retribution, and they're playing much better now. They started off the season 3-11, but now they've won 5 straight games. They just swept the Nationals this past weekend. Giancarlo Stanton is heated up. Yes, Christian Yelich is on a DL, but a lot of things are going right for the Marlins right now. So we'll see if the Mets can cool off the Marlins, so to speak, which is a little different from a week ago when the Mets were riding that 11-game winning streak. And then the Nationals next weekend at Citi Field is a 4-game series. The Mets opened the season taking 2 of 3, and you wonder how the Nationals have lost 5 straight games with the pitching staff they did. But the first time when they met in D.C. to start the season, they were without Jason Worth, they were without Anthony Rendon, and those guys are going to be back now. So it's going to be a little bit different Nationals team that the Mets see this time. So if the Mets are going to hold on to first place, they're going to need to have a good week this week.
Adam Rubin of ESPN New York on 104.5 The Team. And Adam, of course, you mentioned, even though the Mets dropped the last 2 of 3 to the Yankees, let's not discredit their start. Of course, on your home for New York sports, we have Yankees and Mets fans both trying to discredit each other at every opportunity they can. But here's my takeaway from this, Adam, is the Mets had 6 to 7 guys just from the start of spring training that have missed the beginning of the season due to injuries and suspensions. How in the hell are they doing this? How do they still have the best record in baseball, Adam?
Well, if you told me that Zach Wheeler, Josh Edgin, David Wright, Travis d'Arnaud would all go, and Henry Mejia would be suspended for 80 games, if you told me all that, I'd say they have no chance of competing because they needed everything to break right. But the guys who have filled in, at least in the short term, have performed very well. Eric Campbell, I think, has gotten on base every single game since David Wright went on the DL, the Mets have had a really good record during the time that David's been away, and David should be back as soon as this upcoming weekend. He's got a strained right hamstring, but he's down in Port St. Lucie, Florida today, beginning to do baseball activities. Jeurys Familia has really stepped into the closer's role without Mejia. He's perfect and gave opportunities this year, and it's a trickle-down effect. So I worried not so much about Familia in the closing role, but how they would do the 8th inning or 7th inning. And it's been very good, too. Carlos Torres has been very good at taking over that 8th inning. I worried with his workload last year whether he could be as effective this season. And then, initially Jerry Blevins filling in for Edgin was remarkable. The Nationals basically gave him to the Mets for Matt Dendecker on the eve of the season before Blevins fractured that forearm on a comeback on a line drive. Batters were 0 for 15 against him, and lefties were 0 for 14. And then you said, all right, finally, something has to give now. But Alex Flores, aside from some early walks, has done very well, too, as a lefty reliever. They got him from San Diego on the same day they got Blevins from D.C. So the Mets guys have stepped up. Plawecki behind the plate so far. He had the home run at Yankee Stadium. Has been pretty good filling in for Darno. So they've gotten guys that you wouldn't recognize the names maybe to step up, and it's been one of the reasons why they're performing as well as they are.
All right, so they keep pulling guys out of their farm system, and we've heard Terry Collins in the front office management say, "Hey, we've been trying to prepare the farm system for this for quite some time. We're finally putting it to use." Let me ask you this, Adam: Is there another name? Who's the next guy in the farm system where we're going to go? How are they doing it with this guy? Is there somebody that's right there on that edge that we should be keeping an eye on or know the name by now that could be called up at some point if needed?
Well, I would give you a few names, actually. Pitching-wise, I'm not sure there's going to be a room in the rotation. As it is, they're going to call up Rafael Montero for a spot start tomorrow, and then something has to give in the rotation because they're not sticking with a 6-man rotation. But, the name everyone has probably heard in AAA is Noah Syndergaard. He's actually off to a pretty slow start, but Steven Matz, the lefty from Long Island, took a no-hit bid into the 7th inning in his last Pacific Coast League outing in AAA, and I'm not saying he's coming up imminently because I don't think there's room for him right now, but he's a name that this summer, or if someone goes down with injury, could come up and fill in and perform very well. And then I know fans are frustrated with Daniel Murphy. This is clearly his last year as a Met. He's a free agent after this season. The Mets are not going to re-sign him, but anything could give during the season even. And Wilson Herrera, the AAA second baseman, is performing incredibly well there, and he's the heir apparent to Murphy, and I don't know if it's going to happen next year. It's going to happen in season this season, but clearly something is going to give there as well.
Lucas Duda, Adam, he's developing into a prototypical middle line of the order hitter, wouldn't you say? The Mets' reaction to how well he's played so far this year?
Oh, he's been very good, and one of the questions in spring training was, is Lucas going to be a full-time first baseman, or is he going to give way against left-handed pitching to Michael Kadire? And Lucas has demonstrated that he's been able to hit left-handed pitching this season, so he's remained in the lineup every day. He's actually batting .444 against left-handed pitching with a home run, 8 for 18 so far. So they have a need to move Kadire over to first base. And Lucas, he's using all the field now. Kevin Long has worked with him, the new hitting coach, the former Yankee hitting coach, on that. So he's been very good. And one of the reasons why we mentioned the guys filling in performing well for the injured players or suspended players. But Lucas Duda has been kind of the anchor for this team in the number 3 hole and performed very well, and one of the big reasons why they're winning.
Adam Rubin of ESPN New York, at Adam Rubin ESPN on Twitter. You're around Matt Harvey every day, every game, Adam. How good is this guy?
Oh, he's remarkable. I wasn't around Roger Clemens that much, although I did cover the Yankees a little bit at the start of my New York baseball writing career. He's got that kind of bulldog personality where he relishes the spotlight, too. He's incredible. You just have to go back to the first spring training game this year when he's dialing it up to 99 miles an hour in the first spring training appearance after missing what was 18 months after Tommy John surgery or whatever it was. He had a couple blips on the radar. He's still got wins. He's 4-0 right now in 4 starts. The second and third starts of the season were a little bit rough. The third start gave up 4 runs in 6+ innings, but he was absolutely dominant again at Yankee Stadium in his last outing. If you would have told me that Matt Harvey might pitch a complete game in April coming back from Tommy John surgery, I would have said you're crazy, because I would have thought the pitch counts were going to be pretty conservative, but he was so efficient with his pitch count, they let him actually get to 107, and that was almost good enough for a complete game against the Yankees.
Wow. Incredible, man. Adam Rubin of ESPN New York. All right, Adam, so you mentioned we're going to know a lot more about these Mets after this week with the series in Miami, and then back home they're hosting the Nationals. But as of right now, after the hot start and the last, it's losing 2 of 3 to the Yankees, everyone's trying to figure it out, I'm sure, including yourself. What should the expectations be now for the rest of the season for the Mets, knowing what we know at this point?
Well, I mean, given the start, you would be disappointed if they weren't in the postseason. They're 14-5 right now. That's 9 games over 500. If they just play 500 ball the rest of the way, they'll be in the wild. I mean, they should be a wild card favorite if nothing else. I still think the Nationals are going to have their surge and ultimately win the division. But at this point, I mean, coming into the season, I thought the Mets were about an 84-win team. You have to obviously upgrade that a little bit just based on the start. So, I mean, if they're 86, 87, 88 wins, you have to consider them one of the favorites for the wild card. So I think it would be a disappointment at this point if they're not in the postseason.
Adam Rubin of ESPN New York. Read his stuff every day, ESPNNewYork.com or at Adam Rubin ESPN on Twitter. And Adam, have a great trip. Have a good time in Miami. And tell that crazy dude Marlins man hello for us. He's an interesting fellow. I'm not going to lie to you.
Excellent. Thanks so much.